Right, g'day guys, this is Alisha. Alisha is another member of the ARA team, obviously racing on the women's side of the team this time. She's having serious trouble with the front of the seat. It's a big problem that we want to try and get rid of for her today. She's been riding at a pretty high level for a long time, but has always struggled with frontal sort of perineum discomfort on the saddle. So we're going to have a look at her position and see if it's something to do with the position itself or if it's actually something to do with the design of the seat. Either way, we should be able to resolve it. She's had a couple of other small niggles, a little bit of frontal right shin pain, so there might be a bit of asymmetry in you, which we're about to find out. We'll see what we find, and hopefully some of this stuff shows up on camera and we can show you guys the changes we've made. Wow, so your right glute's like twice the size of your left. Your left calf is bigger than your right. You've even got your right knee bent slightly when you're at rest, and there's still a tilt downwards on the left, and there's a bit of an adaptive scoliosis, a little bit of a curvature laterally in your spine. So there's a bit of asymmetry in you. In terms of your riding career, have you had many one-sided problems? Apart from that, do you have any one-sided symptoms? Wow, okay, cool. All right, pretty broad foot, two different arches as I was expecting. So the right arch is higher than the left one, which would make sense. Tighten your quads up and lock your knees back into extension, Alisha. Yeah, so your VMO on the right, this medial quadricep is much bigger than the one on the left, but your lateral quad on the left is a lot bigger than the one on the right. So we've got it like a different distribution of bulk in the main sort of two muscles, bellies that we can see in your quadriceps. So yeah, you're a bit asymmetrical. A little bit wonky. Oh, you're awesome. Not perfect, but pretty good. Yeah, this one was worth fixing, Craig. You can see your pelvis is kind of dropping down on the left with every pedal stroke, which is pulling your left knee towards the bike. All right, so we've got a good situation here. This is where we use the G8 inserts. These things are asymmetrical, or they are able to be set up asymmetrically. So Alisha's got two different arches in her feet. She's got a substantial leg length difference, which means that she's been walking around for a long time with a decent tilt in her pelvis. And the 2 feet have become asymmetrical because of the asymmetrical load. So basically your right arch is lower than your left. So what we're going to do as a starting point is trial you with probably a level 5 arch on the left foot. So these things have a 1 to 5 set of 5 different arch supports available, which can go lower or higher, right? And in a situation like this, where we've got 2 different feet, making the arch support asymmetrical is usually good practice, right? Usually one step different. So a level 4 and a level 5, or a 2 and a 3 is good practice, but I have come across people who need 2 levels different. You're not quite that out of shape with your feet yet. But we're going to start off with a level 4 on the right and a level 5 on the left. Stick your feet on those, Alisha. And what we're looking for as a kind of a good baseline is when she stands on these, stand up there, Alisha, that's it. When she stands on these, we're looking for really symmetrical deformation or deformation of the arch modules. That is pretty close. Step back down again. We're going to clip them back a notch. Just pull this back. We were deforming the front of the arch module a little bit too much for my liking there. So just going to pull these back a tiny bit. And go again, Alisha. Let's see how close we've got this. That's better. More even contact across the arch. The arch module doesn't project too far forward under the first ray, and the deformation of the arch modules looks pretty symmetrical with a level 4 and a level 5. So Alicia's got quite high arches generally, so we've gone up pretty high with the level of arch support for her cycling shoes. So we'll test this out on the bike and we can fine tune it from there, Alisha. These are going to make your shoes feel really different. It'll basically feel like a totally different shoe. There will be a lot of arch pressure initially, like a lot of contact along your arch, which will be unfamiliar for you. And it'll feel a little bit too heavy duty initially. I'll ask you again in about an hour's time, and if you've mostly forgotten that I put them in after the first hour of use, it means that we haven't overshot the mark. If they're still a bit too sort of intrusive feeling and they're feeling a bit too unpleasant, we can actually remove some of the arch height, which is one of the great advantages of using G8s. They are it is able, you're able to make them asymmetrical if you want, which is what we want in your case. But also, if we overshot the mark, we can just pull the little arch modules off and knock them down a level. All right, now we're going to shim your left foot. I think we're going to start probably with about a 5 millimeter shim, and we're going to creep our way upwards from there. So these are going to be new friends. These are basically going to sit underneath the cleat there and lengthen your shorter leg. I can't wait to see you in 12 months because all this unevenness that's everywhere, it'll slowly work its way out of you and you'll become more and more symmetrical. And then we may have to alter the height of this shim in time. We'll see where it ends up and see what happens long term. But you may find that this actually, where we end up here, it actually reduces in size over time as you adapt and as you become more functionally symmetrical. All right, so sit really upright and then ease yourself down. That's it. Ease down onto the thing, sit really straight. I'm going to squish you down and then jump up again. That's what I was expecting. That's unusually wide. For a person who's not that, you're not a big, heavily set person, but that is up over that 130 millimeter mark on the centers. So a little bit unusually wide through the two contact points of your sit bones. So what will be partially happening here is because you're fairly wide across here, you'll be hanging slightly over the edge of the sides of the saddle. And so because you roll your pelvis forward really well, you're often up on the nose of the seat, and which moves everything forward, all the contact points go forward, which will be dropping the two sit bones slightly off the edge of the saddle, I would imagine, which then leads to frontal pressure. So is this the 155, Craig? It's a 143. So yeah, if we went up to the wider one, you might find it slightly better, but I think it won't be massively better. I think we've got to find you a seat that's just got a totally different design. So the best one is going to be an SQ Lab saddle for you for sure. We want to leverage your flexibility if we can. We want to make use of it because there is a tremendous amount of free speed to be had. If you can rotate forward and ride like that for 10 minutes at a time without having to sit up into the wind, there's a huge amount of free speed to be had from extra performance from the aerodynamic gain, which we're not getting at the moment. So let's try you with one of these things. Single through bolt, cup setups like this, not my favourite thing in the world. That one's really in there. One. As long as they don't hit the laptop, we're good. Oh, jeez. Who did that up? Beautiful. And look at that. The left knee is now fairly equidistant from the top tube. See how it's not pulling across towards the top tube like it was before? So immediately there's an increase in the symmetry. And look, half of that's from the arch support and half of it's potentially from the shim. So there's the last bit. She's still just pulling left the tiniest bit, but beautifully square to the bike. That is really good, really good. You can see how her nicks, even her nicks drag to the left from years of sort of sitting twisted to the bike. So the logo is not perfectly centered and the crease is not perfectly centered, but the movement is very, very symmetrical. It's a bit hard to see because of the logo, but that is way better. Oh, beautiful. You're a natural, Alisha. So it doesn't take much for your nervous system to be happy with the symmetry. Like 7 millimeters is, what does it feel like? Yeah, normal, good. It doesn't feel strange or odd in any way. Yeah, it just feels normal. So this is what pedaling symmetry feels like. Yeah, it's a bit of a foreign kind of experience for someone who's been tilted for so long. Hydraulic hoods. Too big for people with small hands a lot of the time. So we might end up rolling the bar back a tiny bit and dropping the front end. Let's just see what happens when the load goes up for a moment, Alisha. This is your time to work a bit harder. Sweat towel, wind the load up and relax into the front end a bit as if you're sort of doing a 5-minute effort or something. So we can see the weight nicely come off her hands. You can see the big bend come into the elbow here, big 30-degree bend. That tells you that the bars are not too low, The seat is not too far forward, it's not too far back, it's not too high. She's really well balanced, but she's got heaps of ability to go lower than this for sure. Come down into the drops and show me the drops. Now the $64 million question, Alisha, is when you are there, does the front of the seat still feel okay, or does it start to feel a little bit touchy? A little bit touchy. Come back up on the hood again. Better? All right, so what we might do is trial the seat another half a degree nose down and then drop the front end and see if we can find a place here where it's, because that's like a massive issue. If we're getting serious pain and discomfort, we don't want to drop this super low in the name of performance if you're going to keep getting saddle sores and stuff, right? So we've got to try and find a happy medium. You're more than capable of going lower in terms of flexibility and everything, but maybe the design of the seat won't allow you to go any lower. So we'll see. We'll test our theory. You can jump off and have a rest. All right, so this stem is a little shorter, but it's lower. All right, so wind the load up again, Alisha, just to sort of an FTP style load. Don't kill yourself, but bring it up a bit. You can see she's more than capable of that drop. There's no problems there. She hasn't started locking her elbows out. If anything, she looks slightly better. Looks like she's not bearing as much weight on her arms, and her scapular position's even a little more relaxed. So there's no problem with the drop in the front end. Now, the $25 million question, does the seat still feel okay with the bars that low, or does it start feeling a bit iffy there?
Oh, it's actually okay.
Good, because we've gone lower, but we've also rolled it forward a tiny bit. So what you've got to be careful of is as we go down in the nose of the seat, we've got to be careful that you don't feel like you're sliding forward off the seat, if that makes sense, yeah? It doesn't look like you are. I haven't seen you reposition yourself yet. Looks good. Some 36 centimetre bars if you can find them. You would actually feel even better. See how you keep tucking your wrists inside the line of the hoods? And that's one of the reasons why you like internally rotating the hoods, because you're narrow in the shoulders and you're flexible. So these, if we could find some 36s across the tops, would be even better. So your wrist wouldn't have to sit inside the line of the hood like that, yeah. You can just go full Victor Campernuts spec and just rotate the hoods right in. But it starts to make the handling a bit funny, and reaching the levers when you're in the drops gets a bit iffy. So yeah, if you were riding on 42s before, this is a big step up. But if you could get some even narrower ones again, I'd be even happier. Yeah, you look great. Happy days. Now we go and test it on the road. And be aware, the new contact points of the saddle, which are now actually on your points of your sit bone, those parts of your anatomy haven't had much pressure on them before, so they're not tough, right? So you might find the first couple of rides, you get a bit sore underneath your actual bum, which will be a welcome change from the horrible pain towards the front of the seat that used to be there. But those parts of your skin, they're kind of like virgin skin. They haven't had pressure on them before because it's all been under the front. So it'll be like you're getting on a bike again for the first time in 6 months. Your butt, the connective tissue will basically have to harden up a little bit in the first week or two. We'll see how we go. Looking good.